Right now, technically, we're live, so I'm going to hit this real quick. Oh, look. Take it away, man.
Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about vaping. Can it cause lung disease? Also, Illinois, what does it take to get an application? And top 5 cannabis scandals. On the line with us to help us digest all that is the Illinois lawyer, Tom Howard, and host of Cannabis Legalization News. Thanks for being on the Talking Hedge.
Thanks for having me, Josh. I appreciate it.
So top news that got dropped on Friday is vaping safe. We're looking at least 5 deaths due to pulmonary lung disease. There was a pulmonologist in North Carolina who said that some consistencies that they've seen is vitamin E oil, and the lipids that they're using is very similar to bronchitis. And so that kind of raises the question beyond just this black market issue. Is regular dabbing that has high fats and lipids also potentially bad? Legal lawsuits that could happen, businesses that could go under, a lot of ramifications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a lot of ramifications, but it does seem like it's not the types of vapes that are legitimate. It seems like all the vaping problems have been black market vapes. And Cresco just put out something today about their policy statement regarding it. And if you watch some of the YouTube videos, of course, on the vaping merchants and the ones that are actually making the hardware, typically from China, they'll discuss how heavy metals can leach out into it and the types of materials that they use in the actual cartridges themselves. So there is a combination of different things that can be causing the problem. But I did see the vitamin E acetate explanation, and I had absolutely no idea that if you inhale vitamin E, you're going to have what just presents to be this whole list of terrible, terrible diseases, or lung problems that has actually killed a couple of people, one of which was in Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not a lot of similarities. There was an FDA representative that said that with all of the cases, there's not a single one thing, even the vitamin E acetate. And so I'm not really sure what the cause is. Ultimately, don't buy a cart from somebody's trunk. Black market is probably not what you want to do. I think it's less malicious than it is ignorance. Herbicide Eagle 20, when heated, turns into a carcinogen. I don't think the people who were growing that cannabis knew that. There's not a lot of malicious intent. People aren't going out and just trying to murder people. But it is interesting nonetheless that it could be, not to throw out rumor mills, but if there is sabotage, it's interesting to create barriers to entry. I made an analogy where Facebook wants to create a barrier to entry, and if you create regulations, whether it's Altria or Juul creating barriers to entry, it's an interesting case. I think there's going to be a lot more regulation as a result of this.
I think there absolutely has to be some regulation, but even vaping, especially the e-cigarette, I think was only invented in 2003. They're exceedingly new devices. And so there's these types of things are going to happen, especially when there is no regulation. And then also there's a large black market demand as this new trend in cannabis, the vape cartridge, which really came about because you have the ability to produce it legally. And then you have the ability to create distillate. And that distillate wasn't exactly easy to make. It took years. I remember when I first got my medical card in Illinois, the first few years, they were not very good. I'd go to Colorado, and then I'd come back with a different vape, and I'd talk to people that I knew in the industry that were making them, and then the quality of it did pick up after a few years. But now that people are out there and they're doing black market extractions, and so you don't necessarily know what type of pesticides or who knows what toxic substances in those leaves as they press them and then concentrate them and then put them into some type of agent that makes it smooth enough so that you can actually vape the stuff. If you look at like a vape cartridge with oil, and its clarity level, it should be really, really clear. But then what's its viscosity level? And that viscosity level is something that then you need to mix in something to that actual extract that makes it more loose substance that can actually then go through that little, I'm not sure what it is, an electric transmitter. It's kind of like a hot plate, at the end, where then it does heat it sufficiently to be vapor.
Right, and that glycol or glycogen gives me a scratchy, irritating throat sensation. So I think a lot of the live resin you're seeing 200% sales increases is a perception that it's more healthy. Although within that cart, like you mentioned, there could be leaching of heavy metals. There's a lot of issues with these carts not being accurate or just toxic in terms of heavy metals. And that's not even the oil. That's just the cart itself. A lot of issues. I know people that are old school hippies that have heavy metal poisoning just from old school gardening and not understanding how to flush a plant properly. And so now with concentrates, if not done properly, if done on the black market without oversight, regulations, proper standard operating procedures.
Or the health and safety inspections that can come in and actually set policy so that purity is respected. But even then, the unlicensed production of cannabis will continue simply because I'm not sure if you saw the numbers out of Missouri. The exclusivity that came from a finite number of licenses, very small, pushes the price up. There was approximately 192 dispensing and 60 cultivation licenses, plus a few other testing and maybe some distributing medical cannabis licenses in the state of Missouri. They got over 2,100 applications because if you win, you're a millionaire. And they know that. And so why not roll the dice and try to win and create the best score? And then the thing is, okay, you didn't win. Well, I guess you could always sell it unregulated.
So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. I want to thank Tom with Cannabis Legalization News. Appreciate your insight and everything. Hit us back. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't.